Canadians drink more coffee per capita than Americans. The country runs on it. But not a single one of the most popular coffee brands sold in Canada is Canadian-owned. One belongs to a Brazilian-American private equity firm that merged it with a fast food chain. One belongs to a $50 billion American beverage conglomerate that controls the pod machines in offices and hospitals from coast to coast. Three belong to the same American processed food corporation. And the one Canadians consider their independent, homegrown alternative, the organic roaster from the Rocky Mountains, is 80% owned by an Italian conglomerate. In August 2025, the Clean Label Project found acrylamide, a probable carcinogen, in 100% of samples tested. A glyphosate byproduct called AMPA appeared in 100% of organic coffees, and the organic samples actually had 5% more AMPA on average than the conventional ones. Phthalates, chemicals linked to endocrine disruption, were found in 70% of all samples tested, and pods had the highest phthalate levels of any packaging type at 93.1 parts per billion. Neither Canada nor the United States has federal contaminant limits. Before the results, a test you can do at home. Pour ground coffee into cold water. Pure coffee floats. Common fillers will sink or bleed color instantly. We investigated 9 popular brands. What we found goes beyond contamination into ownership and heritage. We're counting down from concerning to genuinely alarming, and finishing with the 3 that are actually safe. Number 9. Tim Hortons. For decades, Tim Hortons was more than a coffee chain. It was a cultural institution woven into the daily life of millions of Canadians. Founded in 1964 by hockey legend Tim Horton and entrepreneur Ron Joyce, the company grew from a single donut shop in Hamilton, Ontario, into a national symbol of comfort, affordability, and community. 30,900 locations across the country. The drive-through line every morning. The double-double. It was Canadian identity in a cup. In 2014, 3G Capital, a Brazilian-American private equity firm, acquired Tim Hortons for $11.4 billion and merged it with Burger King to form Restaurant Brands International. 3G Capital is known across the business world for one thing: aggressive cost-cutting. Within a year of the acquisition, hundreds of employees at Tim Hortons' head office and regional offices lost their jobs. Franchisees noticed changes immediately. The Great White North Franchisee Association, representing a significant portion of Tim Hortons operators, filed lawsuits against RBI alleging bad faith dealings. Individual franchisees sued over non-renewal of licenses. In Quebec, menu prices increased 21% between 2021 and 2024, outpacing inflation during a period when Canadian families were already struggling with the cost of living, and the coffee itself changed. Customers who had been drinking Tim Hortons for 20 or 30 years said it tasted different, thinner, more bitter, less of the smooth, familiar flavor that had defined the brand for decades. Whether the beans were formally switched or the roasting and sourcing were gradually adjusted, the experience at the counter shifted. The company that built its reputation on consistency delivered something that longtime customers no longer recognized. Order a Tim Hortons coffee today, then brew a cup from an independent local roaster. The gap between those 2 cups tells the story of what happens when a cultural institution becomes a private equity asset. A hockey legend built it. A Brazilian-American private equity firm restructured it, and 3,900 locations still serve it to Canadians who remember what it used to taste like. Number 8. Nabob. One of the oldest coffee brands in Canada. Founded in Vancouver in 1896, for over a century, Nabob was as Canadian as the country it was brewed in. The brand passed through several hands over the decades, from Nabob Foods to Jacob's Suchard to Kraft. Today, Nabob is owned by Kraft Heinz, an American processed food corporation with $26 billion in annual revenue. The same company that owns Maxwell House, licenses McCafe at-home products, and operates one of the largest commodity food supply chains on Earth. Flip a bag of Nabob over right now if you have one. Look for an origin country for the beans. Look for a bean variety. Look for a harvest date or a roast date. The information isn't there. The ingredient list says coffee. That's it. a 130-year-old Canadian heritage brand, owned by an American corporation with the same sourcing opacity as every other Kraft Heinz product. Keep the name Kraft Heinz in mind, because they control two more brands on this list. Vancouver's coffee since 1896, Kraft Heinz's commodity since the acquisition. 130 years of Canadian heritage feeding the same supply chain as Maxwell House. Number 7. Van Hout, Quebec's coffee institution. Albert Louis Van Hout founded the company in 1919 as a specialty import grocery store at 321 Ontario Street East in Montreal. For most of the 20th century, Van Hout was a genuine Quebec institution, family-owned, community-rooted, synonymous with coffee culture in La Belle Province. In 2010, Green Mountain Coffee Roasters acquired Van Hout for $915 million. Green Mountain became Keurig. Keurig merged with Dr. Pepper. Van Hout is now a subsidiary of Keurig Dr. Pepper, a $50 billion American beverage conglomerate. Van Hout Coffee Services, a KDP subsidiary, is the leading provider of coffee systems for commercial clients in Canada. They put K-Cup machines in offices, universities, hospitals, hotels, and convenience stores from coast to coast. Every K-Cup brewed through those machines pushes hot pressurized water through polypropylene plastic at 192 degrees Fahrenheit. A 2018 Canadian study confirmed that every major K-Cup brand releases detectable microplastics during brewing, tens of thousands of particles per cup. The Clean Label Project separately found that pods had the highest phthalate levels of any coffee format at 93.1 parts per billion of DEHP, more than double bagged coffee. In August 2025, KDP announced it was acquiring JDE Peet's for $18 billion, creating the world's #1 pure-play coffee company at $16 billion in annual coffee revenue. The company that controls the K-Cup infrastructure in Canadian workplaces is becoming the largest coffee company on Earth. Montreal's coffee since 1919, an American conglomerate's brand since 2010, and every K-Cup brewed pushes hot water through plastic at 192 degrees. 3 heritage Canadian coffee brands, and not one of them is Canadian-owned. If this is already changing how you think about your morning cup, you're not even halfway through. Number 6. Maxwell House. Good to the last drop. That slogan has been running since 1917, over a century of brand equity built on a phrase that promises quality without defining what quality means. Maxwell House is owned by Kraft Heinz, the same corporation that owns Nabob. 2 brands that shoppers treat as competitors sit in the same corporate portfolio, use the same sourcing infrastructure, and offer the same zero transparency on bean origin, variety, and processing. The Clean Label Project study found that canned coffee contained 66.9% more acrylamide than coffee in pods, and 57.6% more than coffee in bags. Maxwell House sells cans. The beans inside are roasted at temperatures and through processes that produce more acrylamide than other formats, and canned coffee sits on shelves longer than any other form. Compare the color of a cup of brewed Maxwell House to a cup from a small batch roaster. One is translucent and flat. The other has depth, body, and natural oils. Good to the last drop is a slogan, not a lab result. Same Kraft Heinz supply chain as the Canadian heritage brand, 2 entries below it. Number 5. Tim Hortons at-home coffee. K-Cups and ground coffee sold in grocery stores under the Tim Hortons name. When you see the Tim Hortons logo on a box of K-Cups at Loblaws or Sobeys, your brain fills in the drive-through, the double-double, the coffee you've been ordering for years. But the coffee inside that retail package may not be the same product served at a Tim Hortons counter. At-home products are manufactured and distributed through arrangements that may differ from the restaurant supply chain. The name is the same. What's behind it may not be. The K-Cup format adds the same microplastic and phthalate exposure covered at Van Hout. Every pod brewed is polypropylene plastic heated under pressure. The Clean Label Project found 93.1 parts per billion of DEHP in pods, more than double-bagged coffee. RBI reappears from number 9. The restaurant brand and the retail brand carry the same logo. The production, the sourcing, and the format may tell a different story. The Tim Hortons name on the K-Cup is a license. The plastic pod is the delivery system. The microplastics are the cost of convenience. Number 4. The K-Cup system. This entry isn't about one brand. It's about every plastic pod brewed in every office, hospital, hotel room, and kitchen across the country. Van Hout Coffee Services, a Keurig Dr. Pepper subsidiary, is the leading provider of K-Cup machines for commercial clients in Canada. They supply universities, healthcare facilities, hotels, corporate offices, and convenience stores. The infrastructure is national, the format is uniform, and the research is consistent. Published research, including the 2018 Canadian study, confirmed that every major K-Cup brand releases detectable microplastics during brewing. Polypropylene heated to 192 degrees under pressure, tens of thousands of particles per cup, small enough to enter the bloodstream, accumulate in organs, and cross the blood-brain barrier. The Clean Label Project confirmed that pods had the highest phthalate levels of any packaging format. Phthalates are endocrine disruptors. They interfere with hormone signaling. Peer-reviewed research has linked them to reproductive issues, increased cancer risk, and behavioral effects in children. KDP controls this infrastructure in Canada and just spent $18 billion to become the world's largest coffee company. The format that delivers the most contamination is controlled by the company with the most market power. Van Hout Coffee Services puts K-Cup machines in Canadian workplaces. KDP collects the revenue. Your body collects the microplastics. Number 3. McCafe at home. Those golden arches on a box of K-Cups and ground coffee at the grocery store. McCafe at home products are manufactured by Kraft Heinz under a licensing agreement with McDonald's, same parent company as Nabob at number 8, and Maxwell House at number 6. 3 brands on this list that shoppers treat as competitors are manufactured by the same corporation through what may be the same facilities using the same sourcing infrastructure. Canadian food safety investigators found elevated acrylamide levels in McDonald's coffee products. The K-Cup format adds the microplastic and phthalate exposure layer covered at number 4. And the licensing model means the brand name on the box and the company that made the coffee inside it are completely different entities. You're trusting Golden Arches, you're drinking Kraft Heinz. That makes 3 entries for one corporation on a 9-brand list. Nabob, Maxwell House, McCafe. 3 names that look independent on the shelf. One company behind all of them. The illusion of choice is the most expensive thing you're buying. We're getting close to the brands that will genuinely surprise you. Number 2 in particular. The name Canadians reach for when they decide to support local. The ownership filing says something different. Stay with us. Number 2. Kicking Horse Coffee. Founded in a garage in Invermere, British Columbia in 1996 by Ilana Rosenfeld and Leo Johnson, a roaster in the Rocky Mountains. Organic, fair trade, cheekily named blends. The brand grew from a tiny operation into Canada's #1 organic and fair trade coffee roaster. When Canadians decided to stop buying Tim Hortons and start buying something they felt good about, Kicking Horse was where they landed. The Rocky Mountain branding, the independent spirit, the BC roots. It felt like supporting your own. In May 2017, Lavazza, the Italian coffee conglomerate, purchased an 80% equity stake in Kicking Horse Coffee in a deal that valued the company at $215 million. Lavazza is a family-owned Italian corporation with over $3 billion in annual revenue and operations in more than 90 countries. Rosenfeld retained 20% and continued as CEO. But 80% of the company, 80% of the equity, 80% of the strategic direction belongs to Turin, Italy. The organic certification on the bag carries the same gap found in the Clean Label Project study. 100% of organic coffees tested contained AMPA, the glyphosate byproduct. Organic had 5% more AMPA on average than conventional. The organic seal verifies that glyphosate wasn't intentionally applied. It does not verify that AMPA isn't in the finished product. Started in a garage in the Rockies, 80% owned by an Italian conglomerate. The buy local brand that isn't local anymore. The ownership changed in 2017. The branding didn't change at all. And most Canadians who buy Kicking Horse today have no idea that 4 out of every $5 they spend on it goes to Italy. And that brings us to number 1. The finding that made us question whether organic certification means anything at all, in any coffee, from any brand, in any country. Number 1. The Organic MPA Braille. This isn't about one brand. It's about every brand that carries an organic seal and charges a premium for it. The Clean Label Project's single most significant finding was this: 100% of organic coffee samples tested contained MPA, a breakdown product of glyphosate. Every organic sample, without exception, and organic coffee had 5% more AMP on average than conventional. AMPA is a chemical compound that forms when glyphosate degrades in soil and water. Peer-reviewed research has linked AMP exposure to increased cancer risk and liver stress. Organic certification, whether USDA Organic or Canada Organic, verifies that glyphosate was not intentionally applied to the crop. It does not verify that glyphosate or its breakdown products are absent from the finished product. The distinction sounds technical. It is the entire gap: environmental runoff, soil persistence, water contamination, atmospheric drift from neighboring conventional farms. None of these pathways are screened by organic certification. The seal promises a process. It does not promise a result. Neither Canada nor the United States has federal contaminant limits for coffee. The Clean Label Project had to use European Union benchmarks because North America simply doesn't have standards to test against. You chose organic because you believed the certification meant something specific about what's in your cup. The laboratory found the one chemical organic certification specifically prohibits in every organic sample tested. If organic can't guarantee your coffee is free of glyphosate residues, what does the certification actually verify? Now that you know what to avoid, here are the 3 that are actually safe. These aren't corporate brands with national distribution. They're independent Canadian operations and the principle of buying from people you can talk to. Clean pick number 3. Pilot Coffee Roasters. Independent, Canadian-owned, based in Toronto since 2009. Single origin and direct trade sourcing with full traceability back to the farms they buy from. Small batch roasted in Toronto. Available at their own cafes, select Toronto retailers, and online across Canada. The limitation is distribution and price. Pilot is primarily an Ontario and online operation. They don't publish batch-level contaminant testing, relying instead on sourcing standards and direct trade relationships. But the beans are traceable. The roasting is local, and the ownership is Canadian. Clean pick number 2. 49th Parallel Coffee Roasters. Independent, Canadian-owned, based in Vancouver since 2004. Direct trade relationships with farms in Central America, South America, and Africa. Small batch roasted in East Vancouver. Available at their own cafes, select grocery stores including Whole Foods, and online across Canada. The limitation is similar to Pilot, West Coast distribution primarily, premium pricing, no published batch-level contaminant lab results. But the sourcing is transparent, the roasting is local, and the company is genuinely independent and Canadian-owned. Clean pick number 1. Your local independent roaster. This is the second time across our investigations that the number 1 recommendation isn't a brand, it's a source. Canada has hundreds of independent coffee roasters in every province. Small operations that buy green beans directly from importers or farms, roast in small batches, and sell directly to you. You can ask where the beans came from. You can ask when they were roasted. You can ask about sourcing practices, certifications, and quality standards. You can look the person who roasted your coffee in the eye and ask any question you want. Buy whole beans. Grind them fresh at home. Brew with glass, ceramic, or stainless steel. That combination eliminates the microplastics from pods, the excess acrylamide from cans, and the phthalates from plastic packaging. The best coffee in Canada doesn't carry a national brand name. It carries the name of someone in your community who roasts beans for a living and will tell you exactly where they came from. Before you close this, here's the one rule worth keeping. Buy whole beans from a roaster who can tell you where the beans came from and when they were roasted. That single change eliminates the microplastics from pods, the excess acrylamide from cans, the corporate opacity of every brand on this list, and the organic certification gap that left AMPA in every organic sample tested. One question at a coffee counter replaces 9 entries of evidence. If someone in your life still thinks their morning coffee brand is Canadian-owned, sending them this video is probably the most useful thing you can do with it. The brands on this list sit in millions of Canadian kitchens. The people who buy them trust a name, a logo, and a memory of what the brand used to be. The ownership filings, the lab results, and the franchise lawsuits tell a different story. If this changed how you think about what's in your cup, wait until you see what we found when we investigated Canada's most popular dairy brands. That video is on screen now.